Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. All right, some of you know the words. Awesome.
Tell people there's some more room up front.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if anybody wants to come forward, they've got room up front, and there are also kind of these cushions out just outside the room if people wanted to grab those. Well, I hope everyone experienced that sit as I did, as very quiet. That was a very quiet sit. I think it was partially the carpet. It's partially all of you. We're all contributing to silence together, which is rather amazing to have this many people in a room together for half an hour and basically just be quiet together. It's a really unique way that humans don't usually interact in this way. And I mean, I'm not super woo-woo just because I have the robes, but there is, coming into a place where this hall has been used for meditation, and I've had great bhikkhu, great monk teachers, great nun teachers, great lay teachers come and teach in here with all sorts of people meditating for 25 years or?
Since 2002.
2002, okay. So this is a great space, and I feel really happy to be here with everyone. My name is Ajahn Kovilo, and I ordained at a monastery in north of Ukiah called Abhayagiri, and I'm currently starting a monastery. I became a monk in came to the monastery in 2006, and I've been a monk since 2010, and currently starting a monastery with my monk brother Ajahn Nisabo up in Seattle. It's called Clear Mountain Monastery, and usually we're meditating in a gym, GYM, and we call it the Triple Gym because we're Buddhists, and it has a disco ball and hardwood floors, and yeah, it's never been this quiet up there. But yeah, my mom actually lives just 10, 15 minutes down the road in Menlo Park. So I come to visit her from time to time, and I'm very happy to be making this connection with IMC because I secretly want to convert my mom to Buddhism. And even if she wasn't Buddhist, I want her to meditate. And this is just such a great this is a great place. This is like her. She's not Buddhist, but this would be her Buddhism. Basically, a group of people who are just curious, who want to find inner peace and who want to learn specific strategies for settling the mind. So she's come here actually for a couple of different events, and I think it's not going to be too long. Before I've got her coming on the regular, maybe. But tonight I actually wanted to talk about Sangha, this Sangha gem, the Sangha jewel, the Sangha as refuge. And it's a little bit interesting to talk about in the West. I mean, you talk about the Buddha as an archetype of these three gems, these three refuges. The Buddha, he was a historical figure, Siddhartha Gautama. He attained enlightenment 2,600 or so years ago, is what we believe, and there's lots of history to back that up. And Buddho, what we were reciting, is just the principle of wakefulness, of being awake. So as we recite that, just reminding ourselves that we're not here to fall asleep, our eyes are closed, but really are trying to stay awake, actually in a way which is balanced, in a way which isn't biased towards chasing after the things we like and running away from the things we don't like. So just wakefulness with balance is the Buddha, is the archetype of the Buddha, is the principle of the Buddha, is the mantra of Buddho. And Dharma, his teachings, basically the truth, the way things are. These are very easy for modern Americans to kind of get behind. Why not be awake with compassion? Why not see the truth? It seems like all good things. But then you get to the Sangha, and you got people dressed like me, and it's something that most of us didn't grow up with, and it can seem a bit foreign. It can seem very institutional. One of the monks in our tradition, so all of the monks at the monastery where I ordained were born in America. None of them had Buddhist families, and we're all basically convert Buddhists. And one of the fathers of one of the monks, is kind of lamenting. He's a very secular person. He's kind of lamenting to his monk son. He's like, I can't believe, maybe atheist, grew up atheist, and the father's lamenting. He's saying, I can't believe you would go and join an organized religion. And this monk says, actually, we're not that organized. So there is this tension. You see somebody wearing a costume like this, and you think, I don't want it. I've seen Wild Wild Country, or whatever that documentary about Osho is, and you think, I don't know if I can get within, foot, arm's reach of somebody in robes like this. But yeah, just thought to talk about different types of Sangha. So roughly speaking, I'll talk about 4 types of Sangha, and then really honing into the latter 2. So roughly speaking, you have the word Sangha, S-N-N, S-A-N with a dot over it, technically, G-H-A, Sangha. It can just mean a group. So you have places in the Pali Canon, which is the teaching, basically the Buddhist canon, where you see a group of a Migha Sangha, which is a group of deer, or a Kaka Sangha, which is a group of crows. So here it's just any group of beings. You have a Deva Sangha. That's just a group of celestial beings. So that's just the most basic level of Sangha, just a group of people. The second type of Sangha is what is really just a beautiful aspect, mostly of IMC, or of Spirit Rock, or of IMS, Barre Center, is the lay Sangha. So you have a group of people, many of whom might not even call themselves Buddhist, but all of whom are really looking for peace, looking for ways to train the mind and bring some sense of stillness and solidity into their hearts. And it really is beautiful. I mean, I was kind of in between monasteries before I had actually ordained, and Gil didn't know me from anybody else, and IMC already existed, and I just found out the Gil's email address, or emailed the group email address here, and said, I'm kind of struggling. Do I go the path of a monastic, or do I stay the path of like a lay Buddhist? Because I was really committed by that time to a life of meditation and virtue. And didn't know me, never met me, but within 3 days he said, yeah, let's go for a walk. And he makes the time to meet me here. And I think I volunteered to paint a door, and I painted that door out there. I don't know if it's still, don't look too closely. I don't know how well a job I did, but took the time and basically walked around the block a couple times. And yeah, great teacher. Lay teachers in America many of them are fabulous. And so this is a lay Sangha. But using the word Sangha in this context of a specifically lay Sangha is somewhat of a Western usage. So you go to Thailand, you go to Burma, you go to Sri Lanka, which are the main countries of Theravada Buddhism, which is roughly the Buddhism of IMC and Spirit Rock, and the tradition I came from, a Thai tradition. And Sangha is just reserved for the monastic Sangha. So bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, people who are largely robed in different forms and who've taken on a certain number of precepts that they're living with for a certain period of time. So here in America, we've got this lay Sangha, and it really is such a support. And there are groups, some monastic orders who really take exception to that use of Sangha and say that the word Sangha really should just refer to a monastic Sangha. It's inappropriate to use Sangha within a lay context. But if you've got a Sangha of Devas, a Sangha of celestial beings, a Sangha of, just any group, I feel it's a very valid use of the word, especially when in a place like America, you don't have that many monastics. We're, hopefully not, whatever the opposite of an endangered species is, whenever the species is like, growing and taking over. Hopefully that's what the Sangha is. But you've got this lay Sangha, so that's the second type of Sangha. And I'm so happy for all of you who live near here and can come here on a regular basis. If this is your first time, would encourage you to come back because there's a lot of great teachers who share the Dhamma here. And the third type of Sangha is the monastic Sangha. The Sangha of bhikkhus who are ordained monks and bhikkhunis, ordained nuns, who've donned the ochre robe and really dedicated their life to keeping certain precepts and really keep our emblematic, we're basically flags. We are flags for Buddhism. We're always wearing these robes. I wear these robes to bed. I sleep in some of these robes, and we're wearing them all the time. We don't take them off when we want to go and break some precepts. We're keeping them all the time, wearing them all the time, and it's our lives. And we have to, a large part in our early years in robes, we're just figuring out how to wear the robes. And it's a good reminder because they're not easy. This outer rectangle, is about 9 feet wide by 6 feet tall. And we just basically roll ourselves up like a soft-shell taco. And it's not so convenient. It's not convenient. You're walking around and you have to be mindful. It's forced mindfulness is this roll. The roll will oftentimes fall off. So you're having to constantly keep some level of bodily mindfulness. And really in our tradition, the Ajahn Chah tradition of Thai Buddhism, really meditation gone to the body. Meditation which is yoked to the body. Mindfulness which fills the whole body is really kind of the foundation of our practice, and that is inclusive of breath meditation. So we're a symbol, the ordained Sangha, for however length of time. In some Buddhist countries, like Sri Lanka, most monks do ordain for life. So, that's a big commitment. In Thailand, much less so. Most monks who ordain in Thailand will disrobe. It's almost always a temporary ordination. The tradition in Thailand, so up until maybe 15 or 20 years ago, it was a practice for males in Thailand to ordain for some period of 3 months. So the majority of Thai men would ordain. Probably 70+% of Thai males have spent some time in robes. And a traditional period of time would be 3 months, but that could even be, these days it's a lot less. You do have people ordaining for a weekend. It's lame. If there are any Thai people watching, it's lame. 3 months, it's a good period to really just spend that first month just figuring out how to wear the robe, But we do have, aside from the robes, we have all these rules that we're keeping, and largely it is variations and extensions and expansions from what are called the 8 precepts. So in Buddhism, for anyone who doesn't know, basically the foundation of Buddhist morality for anyone, for someone who's just curious to take on another level of ethical training and harmlessness in their lives. You got the 5 precepts, which are a voluntary training. You can say this formula: I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which has not been given. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drinks and drugs, which lead to carelessness. So those are the 5 precepts, and they're a great foundation for an ethical life. But in Buddhist countries, you will have people taking on 3 more, these 8 precepts, which people will take them on, lay people will take them on for short periods of time, maybe one day a week or a couple days a month, when you just, I'm going to up game, I'm going to up level. For this day, maybe take on these extra 3. And if these first 3 are moral, or first 5 are moral precepts, especially those first 4 really do have a bearing on the degree to which you bring harmlessness into the world, and the degree to which you're able to give this gift of harmlessness to the people around you. This flag that we wear is a symbol for harmlessness. Even if people have no idea what we are, they're not afraid of us. The deer at Abayagiri, they're not afraid of us. Abayagiri's been there for about almost 30 years now, and every 6 years or so, there'll be a noticeable closening of the deer population. They just get closer and closer at nighttime. You can get within, from me to Nick, of several deer. You get that close. The deer are just not afraid because they know it's a safe place. There's no shooting. There's no violence. So people will take on these 8 precepts. The next 3, the renunciant ones, are refraining from eating after noon. 7th one is to refrain from beautification and adornment, specifically from listening to music or playing music or bodily beautification and adornment. And the last one is refraining from lying on a high or luxurious bed. And most of the monk and nuns rules are expansions of those. So we have rules like monks do not eat after noon. And we can't store food after noon. And food has to be offered to us. So if you were to invite us to your house, you wouldn't have to be afraid that we're going to go into your refrigerator and take all your food, because food actually has to be placed into a monk's hand or placed into our bowl for us to be able to eat it. All your food is safe around monastics. This entertainment. We consciously refrain from entertainment. When you come to a monastery in our tradition, we have an active period of 7 years in particular, where it's like a forced digital detox. There's 2 or 3 different levels of training when you come in. First, you live just as a normal lay guest. Everybody keeps the 8 precepts when they're visiting a monastery. And then after that, you can request the white robes of a 8 preceptor, and you're also wearing robes. And you kind of, at that phase, you give up your devices. You give up your cell phone and any other device you might have. Then you take Samanera after a year, which is a novice ordination. And then that's when we give up money. So renunciants, we don't use money. Literally, we don't have $1 to our name. Even if we touch money, like if you were to try to, if we're going on alms round, this happens. Most monks, even though it is a rule, most monks and nuns around the world actually do use money. But the Ajahn Chah tradition, very strict with this, that we don't touch money. If you tried to touch money to us, we'd be like, ugh. And if we were on alms round and you tried to put money in our bowl, if we were to move from that location, then it would be an offense. So we actually very kindly say, actually, we can't take money. And would you be willing to take the money back? And we can receive food. So if you wanted to make a food offering, that's great. And we can eat it today before noon. But we can't take money. So you take that novice precept. And then after a year, you take the monastic, the full 227 or 311 rules of a monastic. And we give up entertainment. And when you become a monk, you give up your old email. You're given a new email address. And basically, you don't have any device. I myself didn't have a phone for 8 years, 9 years, something like that. Only had my monastery email address. And you get a taste. And basically, there's no cell signal at the monastery. In general, it's in a valley and couldn't get it if you wanted it. So forced digital detox, and it's great. You just get a long period of a way to just totally reset and see all the ways that we're pulled in different directions by our devices and all the notifications. So refraining from entertainment, from beautification, and lying on a higher luxurious sleeping place, which is defined as having, you can have legs which are 8 finger breadths high, but above that, that's high and a little bit luxurious. And you might think, what is the point of that? What is the point of that? But it's fascinating. I mean, I have slept on bed, like visiting family. My mom thinks it's super weird if I lie on the floor. So sometimes I'll sleep on a bed when I'm at her place. But honestly, I prefer the floor. And it might seem weird and quixotic. It might seem strange. Like what kind of training is that? It just seems arbitrary. But it's a gateway into more renunciation. So you start lying on just you don't have to go to just lying on a air mattress. Most of our huts at the monastery just have an air mattress, and the monks will sleep on that. But you can have a thick, you can sleep on a mattress on the ground, and you just realize that you actually don't need a bed. You don't need a bed. A bed takes up so much space in a room. It's like all high, and what do you even do under there? It just collects dust, and you realize that you don't need it, and things are simpler without it. And when you're used to just sleeping on the floor, it's easier to go camping. You can there's all sorts of benefits that are just knock-on effects that you wouldn't have guessed when you take on this precept. And just you can experiment doing it for, 1 day a week or 1 day a month. Just today, I'm not going to lie on a high bed. I'm going to put my mattress on the floor, or experiment not eating afternoon. And that does take a while to get used to, the body. But the body does get used to it. I haven't eaten solid food afternoon for almost 20 years. And I'm doing okay. I got a normal BMI. So just roughly speaking, these are the value of a renunciate Sangha. And why I bring it up is because you do have Sangha who come here, monastic Sangha who come here. Ajahn Tanisro, does he still come on a yearly basis? Aya Santusika, and does she come and teach here? Maybe?
I think she has been.
She has.
She has a Sangha. I think she was in Mountain View.
Yeah, she has, there's 2 of our great Bhikkhuni sisters who have a monastery in Sunnyvale, and also down in the Santa Cruz Mountains where you can go and visit. And there's lots of other monastics. We have a YouTube channel. So after 8 years of that detox, kind of somebody gave me a cell phone, and then it all went downhill from then. But now we have a YouTube channel. But it's great. We interview great monastic teachers and Sangha teachers. We've interviewed Gil, Shaila Catherine, Joseph Goldstein, a lot of great teachers. We've got a Zoom group that we meet with. So this is just an encouragement to find Sangha. And if you don't have monastics in your neighborhood, then drive down to the next neighborhood. And if you live in San Francisco, then you can drive down here. Or if you live wherever you live, it's worth the drive to meet people who are really trying to give their life to the Buddhist teachings in a way which is visible. We can't sneak around. I don't own jeans anymore. I don't own pants anymore, people. I couldn't go out and sneak around if I wanted to. And so it really is. And there are different Sanghas who hold the rules in different ways. But if you can find a Sangha, bhikkhus or bhikkhunis, who really are keeping, you can kind of get a feel for someone when you live around them, and this person seems like they've got a gravitas to them, or they're just living in a way which is a bit different. It's a bit of a mirror for our lives. My mom, when I come to my mom's house, we clean up, because she's like, I own so little, and she owns so much, that she just looks at me and she wants to give things away. So the last several times I've come, today I spent all morning, if you see any dust on me, it's because we've been cleaning up her bookshelf all morning and just giving things away. We take, multiple boxes to the local thrift stores when I come to visit. And so it's just a good encouragement to, and why give away? why give away? It's not just to deprive yourself, but because there is a happiness, there is a nekama sukha, a happiness, a joy which comes from renunciation, from giving things up, from being able to thrive with less. The Buddha talked about friends, good friends. 3 characteristics of a good friend is that they give what's hard to give, they're able to do what's hard to do, and they're able to endure that which is hard to endure. And you can make yourself a good friend in those ways when you kind of, just push yourself beyond, a little bit beyond what you think has to be your level of comfort. And in Buddhism, some people think it's a negative religion. Ajahn Punadhammo, one of our teachers in Canada, he says, people come to me and they say that Buddhism, all you talk about is suffering. And he says, no, we also talk about sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Come on, you've got this whole spectrum of teachings. And that is all true. And it is great to have people who hopefully are learning to not flinch from the suffering and stress of life. But you can also conceive of the Buddhist path. One of my favorite Dhammapada verses says that if by relinquishing, renouncing, getting rid of, letting go of a lesser happiness, a coarser happiness, you're able to enter into a more refined happiness, a subtler happiness, a higher happiness, then the wise person will relinquish that lesser happiness, that more coarse happiness, the happiness which might entail some level of suffering to other people, a harmful happiness. Then the wise person will let go of that lesser happiness, having their eyes set on the higher happiness. So the whole path is one of letting go of more and more. Ajahn Chah, our kind of grandfather teacher, said, when you let go a little bit, you get a little bit of peace. And when you let go a lot, then you get a lot of peace. And when you let go completely, you get complete peace. And that might be a good transition to this 4th type of Sangha, which is the true Sangha, the Arya Sangha, the noble, capital N, noble, capital S Sangha, the Arya Sangha. And this is the Sangha, the group of not just monastics, but lay, monastic, male, female, anyone who has trained their heart to a level of true awakening, to a non-backsliding state. So in Buddhism, we do talk about 4 levels of enlightenment: stream entry, once returned, non-return, arhatship. But it starts off as a belief, and then it becomes an experience of actually being able to, through meditation, through stillness, through practice, to be able to permanently let go of obstructive mental states, to permanently let go of doubt about the path. And eventually what an arhat has done, someone who's fully enlightened, they've fully let go of greed, anger, and delusion. The delusion which doesn't know how a human causes themselves suffering and how to let all of that go. So that's the delusion which an arhat has completely transcended. They know completely how unhelpful, unhealthy craving leads to suffering, and they've just totally dropped that. And it starts off as a belief, and it is part of what's called mundane right view. So transcendent right view is knowing the 4 noble truths, that there is suffering, there's a cause, there's a cessation, and there's a path. But transcendent right view is these much more mundane beliefs about the world. So there are 10 of them that the Buddha lists specifically. There is what is given, what is offered, what is sacrificed. That is, there is benefit of generosity. And that's a belief. And all of you, hopefully all of us, have been gathering evidence about the effectiveness of generosity. When you give, your heart grows. And you've seen the generous people in your life, and you've seen that their hearts are bright. You've seen that they tread lightly, and the best givers are really many of the best people that we know. But it's a belief. There is what's given, what's offered, what's sacrificed. There is fruit and result of good and bad action. So this is a belief about karma. That when you do things which bring harm into the world, then you'll receive harmful results. And when you act in a way which is harmless, is beneficial, is healthy for yourself, then you'll receive healthful results. And there is mother and father, so there is some kind of relationship that is significant between ourselves and our parents. And there's this world, there's the next world. There are spontaneously risen beings. I won't talk about that right now. Basically just suggesting that what we see isn't the whole of the picture. There are other realms in traditional Buddhism, and that's a belief that, there's evidence for, but won't talk about that tonight, don't worry. And the final one is that there are beings who through their own practice have realized the path and teach it. So it is possible, and this is a belief, and if you've never thought about it, then I'm going to say it right now, and then you're going to have to think about it. And you're going to have to really come down on one side or the other of this, because we're all operating in different moments from different defaults. Do you believe, is it possible to abandon unwholesome states? And what the Buddha posits is that it is possible to abandon unwholesome mental states, and it is possible to cultivate wholesome mental states. And that's a belief. And when we're depressed, we just can't get ourselves to believe that. It's impossible. I'm totally dark. My heart is totally dark, and there's no way I'm just going to be like this till I die. There's just depression has sunk my heart, and there's no escape. Whereas hopefully when we're able to get a bit above the water, it is possible to cultivate wholesome mental states, and it is possible to abandon unwholesome mental states. That's at the root of any wholesome habit, of any helpful habit that you take on, and at the root of any unwholesome habit, unhealthy habit that you're giving up. And it is a belief, and would encourage anybody to, it's just a nice belief. It's a nice belief to have. And the next belief is that there are beings. It is possible to completely transcend greed, anger, and delusion. And that might be another step. Do you believe that there are humans who just no longer have greed and anger coming up in their hearts? And most of us maybe have never met anybody who comes anywhere close to that. But the more you stay around centers like this, the more you come to monasteries, maybe the more you go to traditional Buddhist country where, say, like a place like Thailand, you've got 300,000 monastics, you've got 30,000 monasteries. And I don't know totally the heart of other people, but I do feel like I've met beings who not just one, but I've met beings who I believe have actually attained this level of the Arya Sangha, who have completely transcended greed, anger, and delusion. And that, one, it's a beautiful belief to have, that a human heart can transcend to that level. If you hold the belief healthfully, you don't want to beat yourself up because we're not there yet. We are where we are. But just, maybe a human heart can come to a place through training of the mind, training of the heart, that these mind states just no longer come up. If you've ever given up smoking or any other bad habit, and if you've done it for decades, just the thought never comes up anymore. And take that principle to, hopefully if you've been meditating for a while, the anger that you used to feel so chronically, or used to come up with so much fire, hopefully that just comes up less than it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And just extend that principle that maybe if I keep walking this path, that I myself can become part of this noble Sangha. And it's a cool belief. It's not just a healthy and a happy, it's a cool belief to have. And hopefully I hope all of you get to meet someone who inspires the faith, living closely with these people, or just meeting them. You might be able to see like a radiance, or even having met people like this, the image of, in Christian iconography, the image of a halo, it just makes sense. You meet people who seem to have like a bright, there's some kind of brightness to them. Or there's one teacher who I do feel has this attainment, and it would be like on multiple occasions, I get within 20 feet of them, and I might not even know that they're 20 feet away, and automatically, like, my heart just drops down into this deep place of mindfulness, just knowing if it's a meditation object like Buddho, just Buddho, the Buddho kind of inner mantra, just Buddha, 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 Buddha. It just goes on like, motor hall. And yeah, wow, that's interesting. I wasn't like that, 10 seconds ago. So yeah, those are the 4 types of Sangha. And yeah, all of us right now, this is definitely, we've gone beyond just being a herd of deer or a group of crows. We're all definitely in this level of lay Sangha. And I totally encourage you, just having community, the value of community, especially these days when this pandemic, or this pandemic of isolation, so many people are isolated. Finding a place like this where you can find community is great. That 3rd level of monastic Sangha, finding the monastics near you, especially the inspiring ones. And the uninspiring ones, figure out how to deal with them as well. But the inspiring ones, draw close, and then the noble Sangha. Yeah, just look for them and see if your heart can believe in something like that. So we'll end the formal talk there and just open things up for questions. We've got just 10 minutes. I was hoping we'd have a bit more time than that. But if anybody had any questions or things to share, please.
Sometimes staying alone in a monastic
Hey, hang on a second.
Oh.
Bring a microphone to you.
it's kind of harder to stay put. Like initially there is excitement. For example, you joined in 2006, so you're trying to be part of the practice. There is an initial excitement. There is like a feeling that there's something great going to happen. There is some, I'm just kidding, like nirvana, or there's like a lot of people talk about a lot of things you could achieve or something.
Yeah.
But what happens is after 2-3 years,
Yeah.
sometimes people, how did you endure it? Because you might feel you're not making enough progress,
Yep.
you're not there, or
Yep.
what people are saying is not what you are experiencing, and
Yep.
so on.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think this is very common. There's a phrase which comes up in the canon about the Dhamma, which says that the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings are beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, and beautiful in the end. And that's great. And hopefully you'll keep finding ways that the Dharma is inspiring. But I was reflecting a few days ago that the Sangha starts off sometimes, if your heart is kind of open to it, the Sangha starts off, it's beautiful in the beginning. You see these monastics and they wear their robes slightly well, and they know a lot of Pali words, and you go to a monastery and everybody's bowing at the same time, and it's inspiring, beautiful in the beginning. But then you live with these guys, and the smells and all the other the humanness of the Sangha. So it's a little bit less than beautiful in the middle. In the middle, you don't know how long that's going to last. And many people do disrobe. And part of our training, and the Buddha laid this out, is for your first 5 years as a monk, there's a principle in Christian monasticism called stability. You stay at the same monastery, or you stay with your teacher for the first 5 years. But after that, you can move around a bit more. But yeah, hopefully, you realize that the Sangha, we are still human. Most of us, the vast majority of us, have not yet attained to this level of the noble Sangha. So yeah, we do act out of our greed, anger, and delusion. And those things, they're ugly. It's ugly whether it's a layperson, a monk. Seeing greed and seeing anger is ugly. But it seems a little bit especially ugly if you see someone who's wearing this robe act out of that. So you come to a monastery and it's easy to get uninspired. But if you can stick through that and say, they're a human and they're going through whatever they're going through, but the robe is still beautiful. And us, we bow so much. We bow so much at a monastery. And it's a good thing to be able to bow to the robe, to be able to bow to the archetype, rather than the individual. Because individual, the Buddha said himself, like, you shouldn't place faith necessarily in any one teacher, but in the Sangha institution as a whole, those beings who, the possibility for transcendence. So if you can kind of separate mentally in your mind the robes, the ideal of both the monastic Sangha and the Arya Sangha, the noble Sangha, in your mind, then you can hopefully come back to a place where it is beautiful in the end. And yeah, you can come back, and they're flawed humans, but they're still, if they're sincere, and there are sincere monastics in the world, and even if a whole monastery is a bunch of, lazy and whatever monastics, there are still practicing bhikkhus and bhikkhunis who are practicing rightly in the world. So coming back and finding that beauty, and yeah. So yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, please. Oh, yeah, Vandana.
I just wanted to respond. Can you hear me? I just wanted to respond to him that as a college instructor, I just trying to connect the situation which he asked. So I started semester with 150 students, right? And right now I might have 100 or maybe a 90. So not everybody graduates, right? So same with I think if you compare this to monastics, so many of them might start, but some of them will drop, and it's okay. They might come back later, or maybe they won't come. It's not for them, right?
Yep.
So just seeing that, not trying to finding some perfection in beings is the path. That we all have flaws, we all are learning, and then one day is different than another. We might drop today, come back tomorrow, and maybe day after, or maybe never. And that's a lifelong journey, and not only this life, so many lifetimes we've been here, walking this path.
Thank you,
That's
Vandana. Yeah, and would just put a plug. I mean, we really do have a vibrant Sangha. We don't yet have land in Seattle, but we do have a vibrant online Sangha. We have weekly Zoom meetings every Sunday night. We go through the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length discourses of the Buddha. We're on 36. We're doing one a week, so that's 152 suttas, about 3 years, and we're on 36. And you can start next week, and it's great. We've got a group of about 50 people who join every Sunday night, and we put out a video at 5 p.m., and you can watch, and it kind of summarizes the sutta, and you get on, and people like Vandana are there, and Wednesday evenings we also have a Zoom session after an interview. So yeah, just join. And
it's just fantastic how CM Sangha, Clear Mountain Sangha, is growing. It's like I joined them, I think, in 22. But then now we see so many, and they don't even have a monastery yet. So it's just the power of the Dhamma and coming to those two beautiful monastics. I feel like everybody connects with them. That's what my personal feeling is. And Deborah and the other people who are here,
Right.
we know them.
Right, and I don't have any money, so I didn't pay her to say that. So she
Yes.
just volunteered. Yeah,
Thank you.
and this might be the last question, but
Thank you for an amazing talk. It's always inspirational to see people who've renounced so much. My question is, I often find myself thinking about how much to renounce. In my own life, I've noticed cravings that are definitely unhealthy and good to let go of. But then there are some cravings, like craving for music, that I really enjoy. And I was very struck when you said that you gave up music for 8 years. So I guess my question is, did the Buddha think that it's necessary to enter into the monastic lifestyle to transcend greed, hatred, and delusion?
yeah, to become part of this noble Sangha, you don't have to become a monastic. Time of the Buddha, hundreds of thousands, I think the report goes, of lay people who've attained some level of the path. And the final level of, or the second to last and the last, one finally does transcend sensual desire or lust. So basically, it's almost default monasticism. But yeah, monastics, it's not just the first 7 or 8 years, but we basically have given up music. And we do have quite a few former musicians. But it's definitely, I'd say, so there's a great term in educational studies called the zone of proximal development. And if you're on this end of the zone, like if something's too easy for you, if you're in 5th grade and somebody gives you, kindergarten math, you're just not learning at all. And if you're in 5th grade and somebody gives you advanced calculus for a college student, that's way beyond you. You're just flailing. Whereas you got this zone of proximal development where you're cutting your teeth and you're really learning. And I'd say just experiment. You don't want to give so much that life is unnecessarily dukkha. You're not trying to do it to elicit depression. You know, you're doing it to make the heart brighter and to realize that you actually need less. You can be happy with less. So taking that measure of well-being as a measure for how much you're giving up. And yeah, you can do it just temporarily for a day. Oh, maybe today I can experiment with not listening to music or not eating afternoon or lying on a mat for the night and see how it goes. And if it's inspiring, then yeah, maybe you can do it again. And if it's helpful, one of the reasons we give up music is just because we meditate a lot. And sometimes you get it. Like if a thought, yeah, songs can get in our heads for like a long time, yeah. Well, that might be the end of the session, and it's really lovely to meet all of you. I brought 2 sets of books, which we published at Clear Mountain, which they look almost exactly the same, but they are different, and the backs look different. But this is every time in the canon when the Buddha said, thus you should train yourself. So all of these trainings that someone can take on if you're experimenting with that kind of thing. And the second one is all about pamoja, which it can be translated as well-being. So the Buddha talked about, you've heard of paticca samuppada or dependent origination, which is the causality of suffering, whereas this is the causality of happiness. You do certain things, and the Buddha gives this image of, it's like a cloud, a rain cloud, raining down on the top of a mountain, which the rain then fills up the pools up here, which then fill over and fill up the pools down here, pools, all the way to the great ocean. And so too, the Buddha said, you do things, the various clouds are like being generous, having a sense of ethics, like the precepts, listening to Dhamma. These are all what water the pools of pamoja, of well-being. You do this, and the Buddha said it's natural. You just be generous, and it's natural that you have a sense of well-being. From well-being, it's just natural that will lead to, when the pool fills up, it will fill over into the next pool of piti, or joy, which then fills over to passaddhi, which is bodily tranquility, which fills up and leads to sukha, or happiness or pleasure, which fills up and leads to samadhi, which leads to concentration, to a collected mind, a naturally collected mind, which then fills up, leads to seeing things as they are, to dispassion, cessation, nibbana. And it's interesting to note there that people often think, once I get my samadhi or concentration together, once I learn how to meditate, then I'll be happy. Whereas in this progression, you see the Buddha said it's the other way around. It's once you get your happiness together, then your meditation will fall together. It'll fall into place, and you'll be able to actually sit. And you think about your day, I just did a bunch of good stuff. I helped clean bookshelves with my mom, and whatever it was, even though it was filthy, just joking, Mom. It was dusty. So yeah, there are these books outside, and also have stickers, Pali stickers. Anybody who likes the Pali language, we've got dukkha on there. If you want to put, and we do have a club of people up in Clear Mountain who actually take the dukkha sticker and put it on the front of their phones. Are you up to the challenge? Yeah, and you can actually scroll through it. So, but yeah, would love to give those out to anybody, and would just say it's been really lovely sitting with all of you, and come join Clear Mountain anytime, both online, and if you ever visit Seattle, we do meet in person once a week on Saturday mornings, and then in person. All we eat 5 days a week is the food that we're given on alms. So you can come, and if you're in Seattle, you can offer alms, Pike Place, Starbucks, first Starbucks, and offer alms to one of the monastics that's there. And would love to see you all up there in person or down here again when I'm staying with my mom. So thank you all. Sadhu. Okay.
Thank you, Ajahn Kovilo.
Yeah, Jen.